shots. Welcome everyone to the Pantheon. I'm Ray.
I'm Evy.
And Evy, what are we looking at this week?
We are looking at The Punisher 2.
That's right. It is the final addition to the Netflix saga of Marvel Netflix shows. This was kind of bittersweet. Where were you? Like, what were you thinking at this point too? Were you still wanting more Netflix content? Like, how were you feeling at this point?
Yeah, I would, because, I liked all of the, what do you call it movie, like the Godfather movies, sort of,
Sure, okay.
like people, like the Godfather type thing. I love those movies. I thought they were good, and those movies to me are like, a guy gets wronged and he just wants revenge,
Okay, yeah.
kind of like the like the Godfather. What do you think? What did you think about the Punisher movies?
The movies I like. Each movie I like differently, but the series, I think the series was, you know what, I like this series because it takes a character like the Punisher, and rather than making him like a one perspective individual, it gives him like depth. And I think with the 13 episodes that they do, like, because it's gun violence, in the world of gun violence, I mean, you're looking at we're always very conscientious of the gun violence and how it affects those around you, how it affects the individual, and taking responsibility,
Wow.
ownership of that collateral damage. And
Yeah.
being a person who's filled with rage, but understands, his truth. He understands like what he's like. He has to live with what he's done and make amends for it, and try to do, like, you have characters like Billy Russo, the Jigsaw character, like, so you have a it's polarizing in the sense that it's not glorifying violence. It's just taking a very mature approach with a character who is easily dismissible as a character who is just a vigilante who's just born out of violence because of this situation. And they gave it a reason to exist. And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you're right. I never thought of it on such a deep level, Ray. Yeah, I guess it's one person who gets wronged and they want to and they want revenge for that. Although I may not really agree. Yeah, I don't really like agree, like on some in some cases why that happens, but it does happen. But it makes you think about whether you're going to do something and why, and how many people it will affect.
Right. So what do you think about the characters? I mean, this one, okay, we have Return of Billy Russo. You have a preacher who's really it not like the preacher who's like one hand in hell, the other hand in heaven, kind of like Love and Hate with the tattoo
Right.
and the thing. You have the people with deep pockets, like a rich couple who's the cause of all this. You have Madani. You bringing back some of the characters. You've got this girl Amy or Rachel. We don't know her name until later on. So the story is very simple, right? Like, like there's three or four big set pieces, if you will, and then of course, it's three, I say like maybe four set pieces, and then it just sort of like bases off that. In terms of the story and how this goes, and the villains in this one, and the conflicts that Castle has to deal with. How did you enjoy, and where did you find satisfaction in the storytelling, and where did you find issues with the storytelling or in the direction it was going?
Friends were where like Trickton, Frank wanted revenge, and some of, yeah, it's hard to say whether what's good and what's not good. There's many questions with that. Even even I think about it even now. Was it right or was it not right? What are your views, Ray?
Okay. Well, okay. On a philosophical level, the series is it's almost an existential journey for Frank. He's in this case he's in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he's trying to do the right thing. And I think the characters in this is great because he meets a new adversary in the same time that he finds Billy Russo's back. We get the birth of Billy. You get the birth of Jigsaw, not the way it's described in Punisher Warzone, which was over the top. This is very well grounded in terms of the psychosis of a character and the psychiatrist who has Stockholm syndrome. I guess that would be the way to describe this. The psychiatrist who follows him around. The trailer is interesting. The trailer makes Billy Russo seem like a gang leader. How the comic books are, like Jigsaw is supposed to be like this big adversary towards Punisher. They play this differently from the comic book a little bit. Ben Barnes does a really good job in portraying a fractured mind, coming to terms with what he's become. I think the story with Amy and what she's carrying that's causing all this to boil ahead is interesting. Is very carefully constructed in terms of he's got a parental, I guess because he lost his children, like he's got a parental sense of like responsibility to make sure she's okay. I like the first couple episodes, which basically is a brawl for all, and that kind of boils over into bringing Madani back. So there were things in it too. I like I like having an adversary who is as confusing and as conflicted as the preacher. I think he is the biggest part of the equation that I think is truly, like, for me, fascinating. The idea of it for me, for my double feature for this one, it's Angels and Demons, the Dan Brown book, where you have the monk. Oh no, sorry, that's the Da Vinci Code, where you have the monk who is albino. Correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, who literally has one foot in heaven, the other foot in hell, and is driven to undying waver in his faith, but does it in a very twisted way. So that was the thing I connected to the most, and I think that was really an interesting exploration of character. And from reading books like Dan Brown's book, like Angels and Demons or Da Vinci Code, when you have the character whose name is Silas in those books, having a character that committed, that zealot, but twisted for his, and in this one is because for his family, for his ailing wife, so it's for a reason. But it's kind of like Killmonger, though he was mistreated, his deeds is too radicalized for me to agree with, but I'm sympathizing for what he had to go through. So that's where I am with this series. Not whether I like the series. I'm not. I mean, I like the series a little bit more than the first one, though. I think the first one, it was just slow paced. This one picked up quite a bit. There was more energy, more action. I wish this first one had that kind of level of fun and action than like this one would have. But I would give this series an 8 out of 10 because it was really, really good. I really cared about the character of Rachel. I was really riveted by this preacher guy because he's an unstoppable force and a true adversary for Castle. And then with the coming of Jigsaw, and how this was going to, because in the end ultimately the ending would be Jigsaw and Punisher meeting. So how and they really drag that on right to like the very end. So that was and I was I was glued to see how that would conclude, you know, because he let him go the first one. Will he let him go on the second time out? So I was surprised. Or how about for you?
Yeah, it was interesting in that this guy Frank had a cause or a reason why he wanted to actually do this vengeful act. Um, but on the other hand, you can justify it. I don't know. That's kind of strange. It's something that you have to think about, whether like to actually have a reason like to do what he did or not. It's something that you have to think about, or I had to think about when I saw it. And yeah, that's all. Yeah, I could think about it and think about it. It's a hard thing for me to kind of think about.
All right. Well, on that note, I'm Ray.
And I'm Evy.
We'll talk to you next week. Take care.